Hello again, everybody, and welcome to Warriors Walk Off here on HBC TV 25. I'm Justin Barrientos. Thank you for joining us. We are brought to you today by Russell and Associates, and we'll begin today's program by talking Warrior baseball with head coach Kyle Poock. And Coach Poock, we got a lot of things to talk about this week. You finally got some games in. Unfortunately, you had to travel to get some of the games in, and then you played in the cold against Winona State. But let's talk about first traveling to River Falls to play St. Cloud State. You're able to split with St. Cloud State. How did those games go, and how was it playing on the turf in River Falls?
Yeah, well, if anybody's got a chance to go watch a game there, I'd say go. It's a really nice facility. It's I hate to say it, but it's something that we could have had here several years ago. Something that same thing, and what they talk about the money they make on that, you really wonder what's going on with Winona, because they rake in some money. But a nice facility. Chance to play. Our field still wasn't quite ready with the turf, with the natural surface, and so we were able to get games up there. Not very far travel. It was from St. Cloud. It's kind of split the difference really, and so we played two pretty good games. We won the first game, and then the second game we ran into an arm who had 3 years with the Gophers and decided to transfer for his last year, and he was out. He was really good. He was really good. It was 3-1, but anytime you get a split with one of the upper teams in the league, we'll take that. The big thing is we're showing progress. We're getting better. Our young guys are starting to really figure out and starting to do some things better.
I want to talk about one person in particular, and that's Derek Baumgartner, who's a senior for you. He's had a little bit of a slow start hitting to this year, but these past couple of games, he's come up with some big hits for you.
Yeah, we won't talk about him yesterday's game, but he's been stepping up. One of the things I'm trying to impress upon him is he expects perfection too much, and he gets in his own way at times. But when he's on a roll, he's swinging pretty good and does pretty well. Has some key at bats for us. The key thing is guys getting on base in front of him are doing a good job, so he has a chance to knock some runs in.
And then Kyle Gendron got the start in game one against St. Cloud, and he got his first win of the year. He gave up, I believe, a home run early on, but then kind of slowed down after that and slowed down the bats of St. Cloud and really settled in and pitched a good game for you.
Yeah, he's doing well. You know, we're on pitch counts with him yet following the Tommy John surgery, but he's looking like the Kyle Gendron of old. He really is able to locate. He doesn't have quite the velo that he had last year. You know, before he got hurt, he was a 90, 91 guy. He's probably sitting 87, 88, but his command of his pitches and his location is very very good. So it's good to see him on the mound and some of our young guys to see, hey, what we're preaching with location and command of the strike zone. If you do it, it works.
And then after the games against St. Cloud, then you came back to Winona and played your first games here. And I believe you said it was alumni weekend. Were you able to get all the alumni things in?
Yeah, actually being canceled on Saturday allowed us to do, they had an outing at 11 o'clock, which was kind of a alumni BPA, Baseball Players Association, get together, a meeting with that. And then they had a social at night at 6 o'clock down at Boobs. And so it was good. It was great. I think they had between 80 and 100 alumni back, and now that's what was registered. Because of the cold, I don't know if they all showed up, but it was a big group, and it was good to see some of the guys. We had the oldest guy was a grad of 1957. We had some few guys from the early 60s, late 60s, 70s, and so it was sprinkled all the way up. A couple guys from my last year's team.
What was that like for you going through Alumni Week for the last time as the head baseball coach, and then maybe looking forward to having alumni nights where you're just there attending?
Yeah, well, we'll see how that is, the attending them and stuff. But yeah, it was kind of it kind of made me really realize that it's setting that I'm going to be done on stuff, and seeing all these guys. Most of them I'm just used to just talking, but they're all congratulating me and saying, hey, good luck in retirement and stuff like that. They all want to know what I'm doing and stuff. So it was good to talk to a lot of them, see some of those guys. There were a few guys from the team when I was a bat boy in 1969. They were there, so we were able to talk about when they locked me into the supply little storage thing in the dugout during the game for 2 innings and stuff. So, and so it was good stories, a lot of good stories and stuff. But I'm sure when I come back, there'll be a lot of same things, a lot of stories about what went on, and a lot of laughs, and just a good time hanging out.
I'm gonna have to write that one down and get back to that one at the end of the year, I think. But
Yep.
let's talk a little bit about the games, and let's get to Minot State. How concerned were you about the field conditions heading into Sunday and Monday against Minot State, and then how did the games go for you?
Yeah, well, I wasn't really. I knew the frost was out now after that last weekend, the debacle from that weekend. But the frost, but now it was just going to be a matter of whether it was going to get warm enough. Said both Sunday and Monday, Coach Riley and I were at the field early, and we put the drag on to try to get the infield ready. Well, we couldn't. It was like dragging your driveway or in the road. It was hard from the cold temperatures at night. But as the sun got up and it warmed up, then the top layer it thawed out a little bit, but it wasn't like thaw with frost. It was just thawing, getting soft. So the field was, I think it played really well. It played real well and stuff. There was not really any bad hops. So the field was good to go. It was just a matter of getting the temperatures. As you know, we have a real field of 32 or better to start a game. And both days we were above that when we started the games. Now, when we finished on Sunday, it was probably a little bit below that. But once we got going, we were going to keep playing. And yesterday the wind was a little bit colder yesterday, but I think more sun, and the overall temperature was warmer. So, but it still was 2 long days outside in not the ideal weather conditions, but it was doable.
Okay, let's talk about game 1 against Minot, and that was a 4-3 win. Tell us a little bit about what happened during that game.
Yeah, well, we had Nick Harrell got us start again, and he pitched well. He pitched really well for us again, giving us a chance. We just didn't get going early in the game offensively, but then we got 3 runs in the bottom of the 6th, I think, to take the lead 4-3, and then we were able to hold on and get the win. That was a good come from behind win. So things were looking really good on that, and it was one that we impress upon. This is what we expect you to do. This is what never give up, stay in the game. If you can keep the game close, stay away from the big innings, which we didn't do on Monday, you'll give us a chance.
Second game, then, it was a 7-1 loss, and you were facing a pitcher that threw 8 shutout innings and struck out 12. Tell us what happened in game 2.
Yeah, that guy was a pretty good arm. He's a lefty. We seem to struggle with our young guys. We struggle with the lefties that we've seen so far this year. And the unfortunate thing is Minot ran 3 lefties out against us. And they're all pretty good. They're all guys who have some experience and upperclassmen, and they know how to pitch a little bit. And so at times we got in our own way. We got frustrated with at bats. We carried them over to the next at bat. Instead, we talk about sitting down, think about your at bat, think how they tried to get you out, and then make your adjustment. So the next time you come up, you just don't do the same thing. And again, our young guys, they're getting there, they're learning it, but I think we'll be able to talk about this today or tomorrow in our practice about how do we make those jumps and how to get better at that. And
then I guess some of that carried over to Monday's game because it ended up being a 14-1 loss. I was looking at your stats, and your team batting average right now is 222. So obviously that's something that you want to correct heading into this week's games, but I don't know how easy of a fix that is. Tell us what happened and what you need to do.
Yeah, we just got to have better at bats. We talk about it all the time. We got behind the 8 ball. Cameron Carrimer, who's been very good for us the last 2 years. Honestly, I think that was his first bad outing as a Warrior. He just couldn't get the ball over the plate. And when he did, it was behind in counts, and they were able to jump on him and get some runs. Should have been out of the first with 3 runs instead of 7. We missed the fly ball in right field that it should have been caught. And that minimizes that to 3 instead of 7. You could just see our guys coming in back after. They were just kind of deflated. And that's the thing we need to talk about is, hey, first inning, you can't worry about that. You got to get in the game. No, bottom and first, we got to run right back. But then we just didn't do anything beyond that. And actually, the unfortunate thing is the left-handed pitcher that threw on Monday is probably their best guy. So, and he mixed speeds. He changed things in and out, breaking ball, change up, fastball. And our young hitters, that's what I said. We got to learn. You got to learn. You got to learn how you make your adjustments. At this level, it all becomes a game of adjustments. And how are you? You can't keep doing the same thing. You know, you got to make adjustments to what they're trying to do to you. You make adjustments, and then you make them make adjustments. If you just let the pitcher keep doing what he's doing, you're going to get the same results.
And then for the games this week, we just found out before we started taping today that the games are going to be canceled, that were supposed to be home games midweek. And that's because of the terrible weather forecast that we have. We don't know exactly what we're going to get, maybe rain, maybe snow, maybe a combination of both. And so I think because of that, you guys decided just not going to be able to go this week.
Yeah, it's with Southwest State from Marshall having to come here. We know, we have a rule that you can switch sites if playing fields aren't available or temperatures, but temperatures are going to be worse there. Their field isn't ready. And when their coach, Paul Blanchard, and we talked on the phone Sunday night and then last night, and it's just, there's not even a 2-hour window. And we need at least a 6-hour window between Wednesday and Thursday to get a doubleheader in. So instead of trying to fight all that, having somebody travel and not be able to play and whatever, which was unfortunate, which we did 2 weekends ago. So we don't want to get in that situation again. So it is what it is. The weather is March, and we'll just cancel. And hopefully April gets here soon, and she's a lot better.
Do you anticipate being able to practice at all outdoors then because the games are canceled?
Probably not the next 2 days. So we're going to be probably stuck in there. We're going to give them a day off today because we've been going straight for a few days here in the 2 days of games outside in the cold. So we'll give them off today, and then hopefully Wednesday, Thursday, we can get back at it. We got our hitting facility indoors, and we got some pitchers they got to throw. So we'll get some at-bats, and in those at-bats, we're going to talk about what we got to be doing in game situations.
And then we can look ahead to Mary then on the weekend, because that is your next game up in Bismarck. They are 9-11 as of right now, although they're supposed to play on Tuesday against Augustana. Mary's lost 5 of their last 6. What do you know about them, and how do you match up against Mary?
I'll be honest, I don't know. And if anybody who knows me, I don't really look at other teams' stuff very often. My assistant coach he'll have a kind of an idea. I'm always more worried about my guys, making sure we're trying to get better, making sure we're doing what we got to do. It's not like basketball and baseball where you watch game film and this and that. It's basically pitcher versus hitter, and I want my hitters to have good at-bats, and we'll see, and we'll get there. The good thing is I see it's forecasted for the 50s out there in Bismarck, so we're looking forward to that.
So what do you work on with your hitters then, as far as trying to correct some of the problems that you've had this season?
Well, we talk a lot about how we're hit. I call it hitting between the ears, knowing what is your job, what is that bat, what does the game situation tell you what you got to do, and then you got to really zone in on knowing your strengths in the strike zone. That's the biggest thing. College hitters have to realize that college pitchers locate in the zone. They just don't throw the ball over the plate like high school, where your good hitters could just swing and hit ball. Now they got to be able to know what their strength is. And if a guy's staying away from you with off-speed stuff and down in the zone because they know it's a weak spot, you got to lay off that until you get 2 strikes. So we're working on mental stuff. When we're looking at what are we doing in 2-0, 3-1 counts, what are you looking for? You just don't, just because the ball pitch is a strike doesn't mean you swing at it. You're looking for a pitch that you can drive and hit hard and hit through the middle of the field. And so those are things that we'll work on. We'll talk about what you do with pitchers after you've seen them. Once the pitcher's gone through the order, you can see him a second time. You got to sit down and say, hey, what did he try? Did he go breaking ball, fastball, breaking ball? Like the guy yesterday, basically, once he got a strike on you, it was almost all breaking ball, breaking ball, breaking ball. And he tried to stay away. And then you get 2 strikes, you fuck off, then you come in hard on you. And so you got to make your adjustments and know what his plan is and have a plan to attack that.
So how much of that recognition is you and the coaching staff, and how much is the hitters coming back to the dugout saying, hey, this is what I saw during the game?
Yeah, well, we're always telling our hitters when they come back, let them know, especially the first time through the order. We especially want lefties talking to lefties, righties talking to righties about what they've seen. So like the guy yesterday, he was throwing different off-speed pitches to lefties as opposed to righties. And so those guys are talking, and then we'll talk in the dugout. I'll talk to them. What did you see? What was the sequence? Okay, here's like, for example, Derek Baumgartner, our 3-hole hitter. I told him, you're the 3-hole hitter. and he struggled yesterday with off speed. I said, you're probably going to see one fastball and then it's going to be all breaking balls. So you got to zone in, look for one that's up in the zone, get your swing off, but lay off the stuff that's going to be down. If you see it down in the zone, let it go unless you got 2 strikes. Then you got to protect. But otherwise, you're looking for a break. The ideal thing is get that first fastball and get a swing on it. But if you don't, then you got to look breaking balls up and stuff and not chase. And he got into a little bit of the mode of chasing because I think he was pressing a little bit, trying to do too much, and got himself in bad counts. And then he had to swing at stuff. So those are things like that we're talking about a lot.
All right, that's good stuff. I appreciate the time this week, and hopefully you get the games in this weekend.
Yep, I think we'll be fine. Otherwise, we'll just have a nice team bonding bus ride, 10 hours.
So there you go. Yep. All right. Well, I appreciate it, and good luck this weekend.
All right, thanks a lot.
All right, and thank you. And we're going to take a break here on HBC TV 25. When we come back, we'll talk Warriors softball with head coach Greg Jones. That's right after this. And welcome back to Warriors Walk Off here on HBC TV 25. Time now to talk softball with head coach Greg Jones. And Coach Jones, we hoped that we would be able to talk about a couple of games, but unfortunately the Tuesday games were canceled, and it ended up being dry on Tuesday. However, there was bad weather in the forecast, and we've seen that overnight Tuesday and now into Wednesday. I'm assuming field conditions were the reason for the games being canceled, but you can kind of fill us in a little bit more.
Yeah, it was really a combination. We had the really cold temperatures this weekend. On Monday of last week, we thought our field was in really good shape, and then it slowly went the other direction. And we knew the frost wasn't entirely out, but that's always a battle you have in the spring in this part of the country. And as the temperatures dropped, instead of the field thawing, it kept freezing and refreezing. We tried a lot of things to get it ready, to get it thawed out, but every night when it would get back into the teens, you just basically had to start all over again every day. And so we were just in a spot where we were battling a frozen field. And the problem with a frozen field is it thaws out during the day, right in the middle when you want to play, and it becomes real greasy and real wet. You can always beat the water that comes from the top because you can get it off. You can use diamond dry, you can do a lot of things. It's much more difficult to get the water that's coming up from underneath because it's like an endless supply. It just keeps coming. So you can't really keep up with it. So we were dealing with that. We had a decision to make in the morning. And when we walked the field, it had refrozen again. And then we combined that with the fact that we have a league policy that says you're not supposed to play if it's not 32 degrees feels like. And we knew we were going to be right on the edge of that. Our concern was moreover, not necessarily the temperatures at 2 o'clock, but if we had to push the games back because the field was going to take longer to be ready, which was most likely the case, that we probably weren't going to be ready to play till 3 or 4 o'clock to have the field ready. Now we were going to start playing at 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock on through 7 or 8 o'clock. And then we knew we were going to run into temperatures. Then the final caveat to all of it is, it was against Upper Iowa, who happens to be our travel partner, and that's the one team in the league that we can move the game wherever we want to because they're the closest team in the league, and that's just an NSIC policy. And so we knew we could pick a date that was going to be much better weather than what we were going to deal with yesterday. If it were anybody else, we probably would have tried to force it in there. Otherwise, we were just going to lose the game. But with it being our travel partner and we had the flexibility to move it to a better date, with all things considered, it just made more sense to move it.
So let's clarify here. Because we've been talking with baseball and head coach Kyle Poock, and some of the games that he had that have been canceled have just been canceled and they're gone. They're not going to be rescheduled. On the schedule, it says postponed. So if it's the travel partner, then you can kind of do whatever you want. But that's the only team that works with.
Yeah, so because they're the closest and it's easier travel, as long as they didn't depart their campus, which they didn't, when all the discussions we were having with their coach, their team was sitting on the bus. And we just weren't going to let them leave town until we reached a final decision. But just that, so Upper Iowa for Winona State is our travel partner in the league. And because that's considered the closest trip, you can make that trip at any point during the year. Any other contest against any other team, if you don't play it, it ends up being canceled unless you move it in advance. So like, we can move this weekend's game as long as we do it in advance and keep it within a 24-hour window. You can move it up a day or back a day if you do that in advance. But the travel partner game, you can literally pick up and put it anywhere on the schedule you want. So that can be a postponement instead of a cancellation. Yes.
Okay, so clear as mud, I guess.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Ultimately, what it came down to in a lot of years in our league was when we didn't have any rules, people were just stockpiling games and everybody was playing basically like Major League Baseball every day in the end of April. And so we had to get rid of that. And what it really did was muddy the waters on all the decisions.
Very good. Well, since we're talking about it, Saturday and Sunday, you're supposed to be hosting again Southwest Minnesota State on Saturday, Sioux Falls on Sunday. With the weather that we've had here on Wednesday and still in the forecast, possibly snow, how confident are you that those games will actually happen?
I'm pretty confident they're going to happen. One thing we're looking at, without trying to get back into all the protocols, is we can slide them 24 hours. One thing we're looking at is maybe playing Sunday, Monday instead of Saturday, Sunday, just to give us that extra day. Friday looks like a really good day of weather. We might need that day to dry us out with the snow. It really is going to come down to how much snow actually falls tonight and into tomorrow. Rain we'll be ready for. We've got it tarped. But snow just takes time to melt. And so I with temps in the 50s throughout the weekend, we're going to get something in. We haven't played in 2 weeks, so if I have to camp out there with a hairdryer and get things ready to go, we'll get it ready. It just may be Sunday, Monday instead of Saturday, Sunday, but that decision will be made probably tomorrow morning, one way or the other.
All right, very good. Let's talk about your team so far this season. It's pretty close to the halfway that you're done with the season, and you still haven't played any conference games yet. So that's kind of another kind of wrinkle in this. But how have you felt that your team has played so far this season?
We've been really up and down, Justin. I think that's been the biggest challenge that we have faced as a coaching staff, is that we've seen some really high highs. We've never had the big lows. Like, we're not riding that much of a trajectory up and down. We just haven't really sustained success at the level we're, I guess, used to. I don't have any concerns about personnel or talent. I just have concerns with consistency. And I think we have some growth there and to do so far as being consistent. Consistency comes from always giving your best effort all the time, being focused all the time. And we've just got to get to that point. And growth comes from two things. How big is that challenge that you're going after, and how much energy are you willing to put into it? And so if we can continue to grow, we'll continue to push that middle a little bit more. So that's been the biggest problem for us that I've seen, is just the lack of consistency. But as you talked about, we're about halfway. We met with the team last week, had a really good meeting with them. Every goal we set is still out in front of us. I mean, we can still accomplish everything we want to accomplish. It's not like we've buried ourselves in a really bad space. It's all right there. But we have to look at it as, here's the mountain. Do we want to climb it? Are we willing to take this challenge? Are we willing to put the energy and effort into it that it takes to be successful? Or are we just going to say, poor me, and it's not good enough, and we're just not very good, and those kind of things? And so ultimately, as a collective group, we've got to make that decision. And I think I know what decision they're willing to make. And then we've got to put our best foot forward and go get it.
All right. As far as the hitting side, you have 4 players that are hitting over 300 right now. And Marissa Mullen, who's just right there at 298. So very close. Kayla Kirkman is leading you right now at 375. Abby Halas at 362. As far as your offense is concerned, how are you? How happy are you with your offensive production?
I think it's the same thing. I think our pitching and our offense is causing the inconsistencies. That if you look at us numerically, the numbers don't look bad. And again, offensively, we aren't in a bad place. What we're really missing is that one kid that steps up and is a 400 hitter, that you're just kind of riding that kid, because what's happening is we have a lot of kids basically hitting 300, 333, 350, which what that really means is we're all 1 for 3. You know, collectively as a team, we're 1 for 3. And so now what has to happen is those single hits have to come together.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when we're failing to score runs. That's the problem. We're getting base runners. Now we need the big hit to drive the base runners in. But without that one constant, that kid that's hitting 400, 500 or whatever, that's going to come up and drive those kids in. You know, we had that bat in our lineup for a long time. You know, Laney did that. Ali Nowak did that, etc. You know, sometimes we had them both in the lineup, which really allowed us to be productive. Other times it was just one of them, whatever. But so I think that's what we're really missing, is that one kid that we can really ride to be that run producer. So it isn't bad. I like what we're doing offensively. I like our approach offensively. We're getting on base. We're creating opportunities. We're winning the innings, things like that. We just need to be more consistent in actually driving runs in.
All right. But one bright spot from an outside perspective is that Sam Keller has really taken over that leadoff role and has done really well in that this year.
Yeah, she's been really good in that spot. We felt last year we had Katie that led off for us for 5 years, and we kind of knew that Sam was going to probably be that next kid, but we needed to see it. I don't know that she really won it or didn't win it in the fall because fall was so short, but we just went with it, and she's really turned into a great leadoff hitter. She's got a great approach. She takes a lot of pitches. She gets herself in favorable counts, and now she's putting hits out there, and she's getting on base a lot for us. It's really been successful.
All right. And then as we talk a little bit about pitching, we've talked about Liz Potts, and she's done a very good job this year at 9-3, ERA under 3. Who is your number 2, and where is the consistency after the number 1 slot?
Yeah, Abby Halas is kind of taking that number 2 spot right now. I would love for her to hang on to that. At the same time, I don't really care whose name is attached to it as long as we're productive in that role. Early on, we were kind of using Emily and Abby. We have 2 Abbies. We call them Abby 3 and Abby 5 based on their uniform number. But Abby Halas, who is Abby 5 in our world, and Emily were the 2 kind of going back and forth. And early on, it felt like how we were going to attack the second game was with volume. That nobody was going to go out there and go 7 innings. We get us 2 or 3, then we'll bring the next kid, go 2 or 3. Maybe then the next kid go 2 or 3, and then maybe we finish up with Liz. However we want to do this, we'll use 4 pitchers if we need to. But it was late in Chicago and then throughout Florida, Abby Halas just kind of took that spot. She had great energy on the mound, great passion on the mound. She allowed us to really play well defensively. She was a great defender. She's our starting shortstop. So she goes to the mound. We suddenly have 5 defensive players on the infield. She had really good juice on the mound. So far as how we wanted to play, she did a really good job of pitching to contact, and that's how she kind of won that number 2 spot. Abby, the other Abby 3, Abby Smith, has now really done a good job kind of stepping her game up. She's got a really good drop ball and off-speed pitch. Again, pitching to contact. We're not trying to strike as many people out, just allow our defense to play. So we've kind of been playing off of those 2 a little bit. I think Emily's still involved. Bree is still involved in it. We've got to make sure we're throwing strikes and getting ahead in the count. And it's just a different mindset than how Liz pitches. Liz, you're setting them up for the strikeout from the first pitch. These guys, you're trying to get them out from the first pitch, however that is. If it sets up for a strikeout, great. If we can get them to hit a ground ball or a pop-up, we'll take that too, however we can do it.
All right, very good. Well, unfortunately, we're out of time here, but hopefully you'll be able to get those games in this weekend. You'll get back out on the field again.
I appreciate it. Thanks so much, Justin.
All right, thank you very much. And thank you for watching Warriors Walk Off here on TV 25. We'll see you next time.